Hey guys, this is Gus from Hardware Unplugged, and today we're going to be checking out the new and improved Traigun by X-Raypads. Yeah, so X-Raypads sent this mousepad out. It's supposed to have a new base, I think better stitching, and the surface is supposed to be a little different. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and check it out. So on the X-Raypads website, you can see the improvements that they made on the mousepad. So right here, Pro anti-slip bottom, so the base is different. It's waterproof, just like the original Traigun. Smoother speed surface with good control. Okay, so the surface is supposed to be smoother, I guess, and comfortable edging, so the stitching is supposed to be better. So let me give you guys a quick look on the original Traigun mousepad. Alright, so this is the original version of the Traigun. They do have that rubberized logo. I wonder if they changed that. The stitching, so their stitching wasn't terrible, but nowadays the stitching on most and not all mousepads that come out, they're really thin. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how much they improve the stitching on the newer Traigun, just because I really didn't think the stitching on the older version of the Traigun was terrible, right? So yeah, I don't know if you guys can see the surface right here. The surface looks a little, I wouldn't say it's a rough surface by any means, but you can feel the weaving of the material on your fingertips. Yeah, so the texture on the surface doesn't bother me at all, but you can feel it with your fingertips, right? A little bit, just a little tiny bit. And the base. So the base is the typical rubber base, and as you can see, it didn't lay flat out of the box. So it's going to be interesting if this newer version of the Traigun lays down flat out of the box, because if it does, that's a huge plus in my opinion, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and check it out and unbox it. Jeez, that is a huge mousepad. So right away, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this newer version of the Traigun basically lays down flat out of the box, which is a huge plus, right? So great job on that. The base. So the base, yes, it's that honeycomb stitching. I've seen that honeycomb stitching somewhere. I think I've seen it in the Hyper X mousepads. Yeah, I think Hyper X had a base similar to this one, right? But so this base moves a tiny little bit on my desk. On my desk, it doesn't move basically at all. Neither did the other one, to be fair, but it's still an improved base just because this one lays down flat out of the box. So the stitching, let me get the older version of the Traigun. So I wouldn't say the stitching is smaller. Yeah, I wouldn't say the stitching is smaller. I kind of like the older stitching better, I'm not gonna lie. The older stitching seems a little tighter, and I like that one better. This newer stitching is like that fussy stitching, right? It's not terrible, but in my opinion, I think their older stitching was better. This is the older stitching. See it? That's the old stitching. And this is their new stitching. Let me see, this camera can pick it up and focus. Yeah, so I can notice that the stitching on the newer version of the Traigun is a tiny bit thinner, like a tiny bit thinner, but in terms of feel, right, and looks, I like the older version of the stitching better, right? Logo, the logo's on the top right on the original, and this newer version has their, in my opinion, a better logo, and it's on the bottom right, but the logo is still rubberized. I don't like rubberized logos just because if you are someone who plays on this bottom side of the mousepad, you're gonna run into that. I never run into the logo up top of here, but I do feel like most people would run into the logo being on the top right and on the bottom right? So yeah, there's that. And the texture, I feel like the original Traigun is smoother going up and down, left to right, because with the newer version, moving my fingertips left to right, I can feel more of that mousepad fabric texture, right? So there is an X and Y difference on both pads. Apparently it's supposed to be the same surface. If it performs the same, I'm just gonna cut the video off here, right? So if you guys want to see our full review on the Traigun, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it somewhere up here. So yeah, let's go ahead and take the mousepad for a spin. Alright guys, so I tried the Traigun mousepad for a day, and yeah, it performs exactly like the original Traigun, right? So I wanted to compare it with other Cordura mousepads, and I found a mousepad that performs really similar to it, and that mousepad is the Eve Cordura mousepad. Now, we reviewed the Eve mousepad a while back and we liked it, but compared to the Traigun, they perform the same. I mean, the surface looks the same, the stitching looks the same. The only difference between the two mousepads is that the Eve mousepad doesn't roll out flat. So let me give you guys a close-up on the stitching and on the surface, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot tell the difference between the two mouse pads. Now, some of you guys may know the whole lore behind the whole Eve company, right? So a lot of people didn't pick this mouse pad up for reasons that I'm not gonna discuss. You guys go look into that stuff. I already talked about it, right? So if you wanted to try the Eve mouse pad but didn't trust them with your money, you can go ahead and pick up the Traigun. The Traigun mousepad performs really similar to the Eve mousepad. Even up and down, they feel the same. Side to side, they feel the same. Maybe the Eve mousepad is a tiny bit faster, and I mean a tiny bit faster. If anybody out there has an Eve mousepad and a Traigun mousepad, go ahead and leave your comments down below, because I want to hear your opinion on this. Again, they perform very similar. A lot of people didn't pick up the Eve mousepad, but if you guys did want to check it out and see how it performs, you guys go ahead and pick up the Traigun by X-Rapads. It has a better quality, it lays down flat, and the performance is awesome. We like the Eve mousepad, but again, a lot of people didn't try it. So if you did wanted to try the Eve mousepad but were iffy about it, you can go ahead and pick up the Traigun. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. This is Gus from Hardware Unplugged, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.